So, greetings. We start the panel discussion about military, industrial, and informational cooperation between Ukraine, Poland, and the EU. Challenges and experience. Of course, there are more challenges and experience at this passage of history, but the key message is that we want to hear what Ukraine and Poland, as our trusty partner throughout this war and before, when we look in 2025, we're going to talk about this with people which have a lot to say and share. Artem Yunik, head of the R&D design Anton Avia, Sergei Goncharov, executive director of National Association of Defense Industry, Alexei Yezhak, National Institute of Strategic Studies, Consortium for Defense of Information, Alexei, and Dariusz Metelnik, head of the think tank Poland Ukraine. Dariusz, greetings. And online, people will be joining us. Piotr Górnikiewicz, deputy of Polish Sejm, deputy head of the Polish Club 2025. He will be answering the questions that he is working and proficient with. Let's start with a question to Alexei Yezhak. We end the year 2024 with some degree of success, with some degree of shortcomings, sometimes even failures. Maybe not everything that we planned have been succeeded. In some things, enemy has dealt a blow. Sometimes we didn't do what we were supposed to do. But the foreign political landscape is changing. As partners, Poland and Ukraine enter this new year. So let's look at the next year, 2025, with what we can glimpse now into the future, what little bit that we can glimpse, or maybe a big bit, in political, societal, and business level, and of course, military level. What can we do, what should we do to have this cooperation more effective? So some of the plans and predictions of how the war should or might or can end, that doesn't mean any of these predictions or attempts at predictions will be actually done or implemented. If the president-elect of the US indeed has intention to end all wars and proceed to maintain trade balance, it doesn't mean that the general spending for war, for weapons, will diminish and countries will stop producing more weapons. This global trend is for more arms, more defense, will, I think, continue into this new year. That means that the world will still remain turbulent. It's just geopolitical imperative. That's how the world behaves now, and it maybe takes a decade or two to heal the wounds. So we need to prepare to think in that horizon at least. So what's the main problem of our relations, if there are, and why do we sometimes fall short of using the potential we have? I would say Poland is not at war, thankfully, now, and it spends more and more and more for rearmament and invests in the armed forces, but it uses its own money and it uses loan money. It either takes the spending from the tax, or it takes loans and makes modernization. In Ukraine, we live in a war and we depend on the assistance. And while the situation is like that, we have to temporarily look for assistance from the outside while we try to survive within. We understand that Poland cannot give us everything. They were generous enough to provide logistics, some industrial help. When there's defense help, then it happens. There's coalitions. There's certain localization of servicing the systems and capabilities. There's potential there, of course. But before we have some joint effort and joint spending, as an enterprise, so then we'll fall short. We will stop falling short when we start investing in it together. The structure of the industry was similar, and it remains like that, and the experience of the reform, it may be a bit different. While Poland was already steadily moving westward, Ukraine was trying to sell and make money from selling stuff they had, or we had. So if Ukraine will keep working and make it through the reforms that Poland did, it's going to be good for both Poland and Ukraine. And our guest now will continue the topic of practical cooperation between Ukraine and Poland in terms of defense. And I give the floor to Sergei Goncharov, Executive Director of National Association of Defense Industry. Greetings.
Ми зараз кажемо саме про співпрацю України та Польщі. Можливо, є різні напрямки.
We are talking about different types of cooperation between Ukraine and Poland. So maybe Ukrainian arms vendors, state-owned arms vendors, think about investments, locations.
Скажіть, будь ласка,
So we're looking into producers of armaments, weapons, in terms of investments, locations for manufacture, cooperation for manufacture, a country that can sell or provide weapons. What are the prospects for 2025? So you basically outlined every particular area where we plan for cooperation, because indeed the cooperation often happens in different products, and sometimes even all the product ranges, from logistical hub, as subcontractors. Sometimes the Ukraine procures directly Polish goods, Polish products and solutions. So cooperation with Poland is there, it works, despite the possible problems and challenges. I think cooperation will increase. We hope that there will be more interest from Poland, Polish businesses. Because for us, the priority is to create this industry inside Ukraine. Of course, due to some security reasonings, we have to place some of these productions outside Ukraine. But for the safety of the state, for independence of the state, the priority is to produce inside the country. And so investments from Poland to other countries, the technologies transferred from Poland to other countries, the human capital from Ukraine is still a priority. So we have one of the still not not valued, but an important situation where our products are used on the battlefield, a very dynamic battlefield, constantly changing battlefield, and our manufacturers are adapting to these changes the best way, like nobody else, because the battlefield, unfortunately, is still here. A simple question, but I will add some expanded. So this year we've forgotten about border crisis. It's in the past now. Then there is some historic challenges of Poland versus Ukraine. But if we talk about specifically weapons and the support of continued support to Ukraine, my question is simple. Polish society, does it have Ukraine or war fatigue? It maybe sounds cynical, but still, is Polish society ready to be with Ukraine and with themselves? Because we understand Poland's geography will not change. Poland is the next country after us on the possible
потужного
way
російського агресора.
of powerful Russian
Дуже
aggressor.
дякую.
Thank you.
Дуже дякую за запрошення.
Thank you for the invitation, first of
Дозволю
all.
собі говорити українською.
I will speak in Ukrainian.
Щодо втомлення,
As for the fatigue,
в якомусь сенсі, певно, так.
in some sense, there is some of that.
По якогось типу
I think we can see
цієї теми, яка постійно з'являється. Можливо, це дивно
fatigue
звучить
from the
в країні,
very
яка,
topic, at least,
є
of
сусідом,
war,
країні,
of
яка
people
воює.
fighting.
Можливо, це дивно
And
звучить
we have a
увагу
fighting
країни, яка
neighbor.
безпосередньо не є жертвою
And
агресії,
we are
не
not the
веде війни,
direct
але насправді це відбувається і в
target of
Польщі,
this
і в
aggression,
Німеччині,
but
і
it
в
happens
всіх
in
країнах,
Poland, in
які,
Germany.
якимсь чином
It's not
залучені до
directly
цього
involved, but it's involved
процесу,
in other ways into
підтримки
this,
України.
and supporting Ukraine in
То
particular.
це, звісно, брати до уваги.
So that
Але з
is
другого
something we
боку,
take into consideration.
якщо
But on the other hand,
запитати про те,
if
чи
we ask
чи Польща готова, чи
whether
Поляки
Poland
готові
is
і
ready
підтримувати Україну,
to
то,
continue
звісно, відповідь буде, що
supporting
так, що
Ukraine,
готові.
yes.
Це з одного боку, це, звісно, тому, що це акція
On one hand, it's the reaction
почало з 24 лютого
of
повномасштабного
Polish
вторгнення.
society to what's
Воно
happened
було з
in
одного боку дуже емоційне.
February 24, 2022. It was an emotional response, of
Тому
course.
саме завдятки цим емоціям, воно
So,
було так настільки потужно, настільки
That's why it was so powerful,
настільки
because the
велика
emotion was so
підтримка,
powerful.
Польщі, поляків
The
за
support of from
українців.
Poles to Ukrainians was
Емоції мають
incredibly
бути
powerful
те,
because
що
we've
вони, якщо
seen
вони десь зростають,
it
то
happen.
буває, що вони швидко можуть
But emotions are quick to rise and they're quick to fall,
певні
because you can't live spending emotions all the time.
для нас суперечливими. Але якби в загальному плані
But in general,
те, що нас роз'єднує,
everything that divides us, like some of the history, some of the economic issues,
Треба розуміти, що це якби немає в тому нічого
Ви
дивного.
знаєте, я
There's
вибачте, я
nothing
просто
strange
не
about
маю,
it.
права цього не сказати. Ви кажете,
but I
те,
must
що
say it.
роз'єднує. Знову ж таки, чи історія роз'єднує,
Something
чи
that
певні
divides us.
історичні
Is it
факти
history or
використовуються
is
для
divided,
роз'єднання?
or
Якщо
some facts are
можливо,
used by
вони
someone to
бути
divide
використані
us?
для
Although the
для
same
об'єднання
facts
або
can
принаймні
be
для
used
діалогу, для
for
дискусії, але
unity,
точно
for
не для
dialogue,
роз'єднання.
not
Бо
for
одні історії можна
divide.
по-різному трактувати.
Because
Можна зробити це з
many
спільною
stories
справою,
can
а
interpret
можна
it
зробити
different
це,
ways.
таким, знаєте, каменем спотикання.
You can make it a shared cause, you can make it a divisive factor. Yeah, sometimes it happens. And if we look at threats for our cooperation, then the main threat is that somebody, well, usually it's the same actor, can use some situations or mechanisms to make some things. It's about Poland and it can be about Ukraine, to decrease this potential of our cooperation. And we see these attempts from the very beginning. And, you know, it's been years. But in general plan, Poland understands that there is no other way for us out of the situation other than supporting Ukraine. Because as you said in your question, I will maybe rephrase this question. Yeah, Poland is the next on that way. If it comes to that, I don't think it's possible that Russia steps in and starts attacking us as well, but you never know. So, a famous film director called Władysław Pasiekowski, he made several sensational films, and there's a film about the military. It's called Korol, King. And so you hear a phrase in a discussion between people, the military people. And one says, the commander says to the soldier, it's either you or them. It's either you or them. So Ukrainians can say to the Polish and Lithuanians, it's either we take them out, because that's how they put the question. It's not we offered this game that somebody has to put someone out, but they put it like that. And now let's go to the practical part of the discussion. How Ukrainian producers already work in Poland.
Які є проблеми, які є
What are the problems,
можливості?
challenges?
Спілкувалися, я так розумію, проблем поки що більше, хоча Азовський, я не знаю. Я Артема В'юника долучив до розмови.
Artem Vunik, who's the head of the industrial company Atlon Avia, and he starts looking to the market and starts production in Poland. To what extent do you see it as an opportunity? What would you say to those who would like to do that as well? And what are the problems and what are the challenges there? Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. Well, we got to say that we are probably one of the last companies that move into Poland among our colleagues. But still, there is this movement. It's natural. On one hand, it is about safety, it's about security and diversification, because the whole territory of Ukraine is under missile threats, and the companies are targeted that have been working for a while. We are one of those companies. We work ever since 2014. We are producing for the armed forces of Ukraine, artillery corrections, artillery targeting. So there have been attempts to bomb all of the companies working there, and our company as well. Thank God that they were, the hits were diverted, but we have to diversify production, not only in Ukraine. That doesn't mean we leave Ukraine, as some people try to present that negatively. No, it's not that. It's distributing risk.
Для виробництва наших засобів, скажімо так, на випадок, якщо трапиться щось негарне, щоб ми мали можливість продовжити працювати.
Risky situation, we can still work. That's why we're doing it. But it's also related to gradual loss of engineering potential in Ukraine, because there are less and less serious engineers available. Serious engineers that were in Ukraine, that they moved out, and we feel it. On one hand, there is some potential, but on the other hand, specific engineers in Ukraine are hard to find, and that prevents us from increasing the level of our products. So we're trying to compensate it somehow, because historically in aircraft building, and that's where we work, the connections between Ukrainian and Polish aircraft industry are very close. Like Rzeszowski Wojewódzko is renowned for their aircraft building companies, and they still retain that potential. On the other hand, we need some support in Poland, because the law is specific in some ways, and we don't always understand it. Although we have absolutely friendly attitude to us, we encounter only great attitude, and we hope that the production in Poland will be powerful, providing a certain balance.
З іншого боку, ми, як би там, можливо, це там цинічно не звучало, але ми підприємці, бізнесмени.
However cynical that might sound, we are entrepreneurs. We think about the long game. We talk about 10 to 20 to 50 years ahead. We understand that the conflict will not end as the hot war will end. We understand that we need to expand our capabilities and work on certain capitalization of business. And in this sense, production on Polish turf is going to be only positive. So we're moving forward. Let's see what comes next. What about bureaucracy? Are everybody happy to see you, or bureaucracy doesn't really like you? Bureaucracy is bureaucracy everywhere, in Ukraine, Poland, on the border.
проблеми, я думаю, однакові.
Ukrainian-Polish, well, there are people there, and people think about their own
про ті проблеми, які можуть виникнути саме
their own challenges that they personally have.
але ми їх сприймаємо
They have
як
them,
щось природнє і
but
те, що над
we
чим просто
perceive it
треба
as something, well,
працювати. З
natural,
іншого
part of
боку,
nature,
наприклад,
and
нас
something
дуже
we have
тішить,
to work
і
with it.
ми раді знайомству з
On the
такою
other hand,
організацією
we
державною,
like
як
such an
АРП,
organization that
Агенція
ARP,
розвитку
Agency
промисловості
of
польська, яка
Industrial
дуже
Development.
конструктивно і допомагає нам, і в
They are
принципі
very
дає
constructive.
нам
They
можливість,
keep helping us,
скажімо так,
and
отримати певні пільги
they
на
help
ті
us
інвестиції,
get
які ми
certain
робимо в
preferences for the
Польщі,
investments that we
організації,
do
яка
in
могла
Poland.
надавати
Otherwise, in Ukraine, I haven't yet encountered such a great organization that helps entrepreneurs so well. Hopes are not good advisors. So, Piotr Gornikevich, Deputy of Sejm, please expect some time lag for Zoom. We would like to ask him once again.
Пане Петре, я от про що хотів вас
What I
запитати.
wanted to
Це
say,
питання, яке непокоїть всіх
it's a question
українців.
that Ukrainians mostly, all of them want to understand and say they still don't
З
understand.
вашою інформацією,
Why, as you might know,
щоб на мене чули. Пане Петре, чому за вашою інформацією Польща
why
не
do you
надає
think
Україні
Poland
Міг-29,
doesn't provide
які нам дуже потрібні?
MiG-29
Але є
aircraft
певні
that we need
нюанси.
so
І
much?
друге, це
But there are some
по
nuances there.
продажу Україні
Secondly,
південно-корейської зброї. Я
as
розумію, знову ж таки, що є певні
South
нюанси, але чи
Korean
можна,
arms
бодай, і в
cannot be
наступному
sold to
року
Ukraine. I understand some of
це
the nuances are
розраховувати?
there, but can we at least count on that? Well, dear ladies and gentlemen, the best answer to this question you would get from the Minister of National Defense in Poland. I think the assistance we have already provided is more than significant, and I think 4 billion zloty, which we allocated for weapons shipments into Ukraine, tanks, helicopters, other arms. It all came from our stocks. We are now trying to increase the shipments of ammunition. We are now part of the Czech Republic initiative of supplying arms, and the Polish people, they have provided most of the assistance to Ukraine, and heavy machinery, we provide the most of it. We have close cooperation in the defense industry. We understand that in Ukraine, there are many companies that have been destroyed by Russians.
Світ приходить до розуміння, що ти маєш бути
People
сильним.
understand that you got to be strong. Will there be war or not? If you're strong, there is not so much risk that somebody wants to take you. So, Artem Yunik, Tlon Avia, thank you, Artem. Thank you for your intervention. Sergei Goncharov, head of the Ukrainian Association of Defense Industry. Thank you, Sergei. Piotr Gornikevich, Deputy of Polish Sejm, Deputy Head of the Polish Club 2025. Thank you for joining us. Alexei Yezhak, National Institute of Strategic Studies, Consortium for Defense Information. Alexei, thank you so much for your work. And Dariusz Maternik, Head of the Studies, Polish-Ukrainian Studies. Thank you so much for great emotions, for your great feedback. And finally, I want to remind you all that Forum Via Carpatia 2024, which is the 7th forum for the first time in capital of Ukraine, is supported by International Renaissance Foundation and your favorite TV channel Espresso, TVP World, literary meeting of war context, facilitated by Ukrainian Institute of Books. Thank you, friends and partners. Thank you for staying with us. Too bad we don't have time for discussion. I think you would have time for that. But thank you for working for our own benefit. Thank you.